You're listening to Ants Talk.
My next guest had a very traumatic childhood growing up with an abusive mother who put her into the foster care system. During her time with her mother, she was sexually abused by her stepfather. Her story reads like a novel, and seeing the mistakes of the authorities over the years makes you realize while child abuse is still so prevalent. Welcome to the show, Mary Doyle. Hey, Mary, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. You okay?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for joining me today. I know that it was a little hard working out our time differences. Our first booking was for 4 a.m. in the morning, which wouldn't have been good for me because I don't wake up till at least 5. So, Mary, listen, I've read a large part of your story and it's absolutely shocking what's happened. Can you tell us a little about the early years of your life?
Right. I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was born in Scotland, in Paisley. My mum met somebody that she claimed that was my father. So she was pregnant with me, and she passed me off as his child. She had me in Scotland. We then moved to Wales. And the abuse literally started from when we moved to Wales. Now, I was 1 by this time. She then, in 1992, she was physically abusing and mentally abusing 2 of her stepchildren. This was the guy that she portrayed to be my dad, his children. They were then taken away, and she had my sister as well. My sister is a year younger than me. She was born with cerebral palsy. So my mum was told that she would never walk, she wouldn't talk. So my mum gave my sister up for adoption. And the other 2 children, stepchildren, were taken away as well by social services. And I was left with my mum. We ended up in a women's refuge in, I believe it was Cardiff, because of the guy she portrayed to be my father. She said that he was physically assaulting her. We had to flee him. Then we moved from place to place to place. I think I lived in about 12 different areas up until the age of 4.
Wow.
When she met my stepfather. So I've already gone through some abuse with my mum from 91 to 94, but not just with my mum, with multiple other men as well. It was a bit like, I don't know if I can put it this way, but it was a bit like she was pimping me out.
Right.
Because no matter what bloke she had in her life, they were very in my life too.
Gotcha. So basically, these men were abusing you at the time also.
If time stood still, I could do a sketch drawing of every bloke.
I can imagine.
That if time stood still. But obviously, over the years, people are going to change.
Yeah.
But put me back there, and it's there. But anyhow.
So that's from the ages of 1 to 4.
Yes.
Wow.
We had a lot of social services involvement. But every time social services kind of clicked on to where we were, we would move.
Right.
So in that kind of respect, it was kind of the local authority finds her. She evades them. She runs.
Yeah, yeah. So when did your mother's attention change? Was she ever loving towards you?
I have never heard the words "I love you" come out of that lady's mouth. I have never had a cuddle off that lady saying everything's going to be okay.
Wow.
That lady, I'm saying a lady, but, you know, she hated me from the day that I was born.
Was she any different with the stepchildren, like the stepbrother and sister?
Yes,
Right,
she loved them.
right.
No, that's not a stepbrother and sister. Sorry, no, no. I don't.
Sorry, yeah.
There was with the stepchildren. It was because obviously we're going to move on in a moment to
Yeah.
when obviously I was older, so I can explain it then. But just briefly, they weren't fed. They they weren't loved. They
Mhm.
when we go on further, and for the listeners, then they will understand what the two stepchildren went through when they hear what I've gone through later on.
Yeah, yeah. When did the sexual abuse start after that period again?
1994, when my mother met my stepdad. Um, he wasn't nice.
Mm.
Um, I think it wasn't long after him and my mum got together that my mum got a job. She got a job in a pub. She would be there at night and sometimes till pretty late.
Mm.
And that's really when the abuse with him started.
Crazy. Did you s- when you are that young, I know that a lot of people try to block the abuse. You were so young. I mean, it's so hard to even visualize or think about how you would even, uh, work out what was happening. So did you realize that you'd already been abused once it had started again, or had it never left your mind?
It was normal.
Yeah, yeah.
It was something that
Happens so
literally
often.
from when I can from the moment that I can remember in my head, I was abused.
Mm.
There's more bad memories than there is good memories, and I'm 31 years old and I
Mm.
can still smell them.
Oh God, absolutely horrific. Because I mean, before we actually organized this interview, you sent me a lot of that information of court cases and newspaper articles, etc., etc. And I mean, even reading the tiniest part of it was bad enough. So I can just imagine. When did you find out about your actual sister?
Right. I always knew that I had a sister, but I was informed by my mother that she was my twin sister.
Oh,
So I went through all my early childhood years believing I had a twin sister. When in actual fact, she was born a year after me. Um, so yeah, I always knew I had a sister. I do also have another half brother and sister that my brother, sadly, he was run over by a minibus at school
oh gosh.
and he passed away. in 2014. He was 15.
Wow.
My other sister, she lives at home with her.
Mm.
But my middle sister then, she doesn't live at home. She lives away.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So I know that the stepfather ended up being charged and jailed. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in 1996, my mother, I told my mother that my stepdad had done, what did I say to her? I said he was hurting me. I said I didn't want her to be going to work anymore. She needed to stay home with me.
Mm.
And she rang social services. And she said that if they didn't come and get me and take me from her, because she was fed up of my lies and she wasn't going to let me get between her and her husband, that she would hurt me if they didn't take me.
Some people truly
So,
are unfit for parenting, aren't they?
yeah. Then they took me. Social services came, they took me. They placed me with a foster placement, man and a lady. And I told the foster father what my stepdad had done. The police were called, social services was called, I was interviewed. It was all going to go court.
Mm.
Then they said that I was too upset and too young to be placed on the stand, that it would be too detrimental to my health to be cross-examined. Now I'm 6, and regardless of where you are in the world, I'm sure at that age you wouldn't be on a stand.
Mm.
You would be by a video link in a different room.
Yeah.
So that I don't understand. So yeah, it was thrown out of court.
Oh my gosh.
And nobody will ever understand the mental trauma that that has caused.
Mm.
Because 20 years later, I go back to the police after a number of attempts of trying to get this case reopened. And in 2015, he was prosecuted to 7.5 years.
Brilliant.
But like I said, the trauma of that, of
Yeah.
having to fight for justice
And to
for
wait.
something that is so clear that has happened, but nobody wanted to know.
Mm. It's absolutely
Nobody wanted to
abhorrent.
help.
Absolutely abhorrent.
Make sure you subscribe to Ants Talk.
So I know that you went on the Jeremy Kyle show with your sister. How did that come about?
Right. So from a young age, I was questioning where my dad was, who he was. And I had a name, I had my birth certificate. And I went looking on Facebook. I found him.
Mm.
I found him through his son, the one that was there when I was little.
Right.
Him and his father have the same name. So I found him, and then I went onto his profile and I seen that his dad's name. And it was like, so this isn't like a coincidence, because his name is his name and he's got the same name.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So I contacted him, and he believed he was my dad. He's on my birth certificate as my dad. But anyhow, my mother is a liar. Always has been, always will be. Nothing will ever change.
Mm.
I disbelieved her. I disbelieved that man was my dad. After speaking to him, after speaking to his wife, after speaking to his children, it didn't fit. Something
Yeah.
did not sit right. So I questioned, would you go on the Jeremy Kyle show? He said yes. I was speaking to my sister, the one that was given up for adoption. I spoke to her on Facebook, questioned if she would come on there, and she did.
Mm.
Jeremy Kyle was the first place that I met my sister face to face.
Wow. Yeah, I actually watched it. It was
It
full
was
on.
horrific. It was a horrific experience.
Yeah. I can
Um,
imagine.
Something that I actually really regret,
Why did you regret it?
because literally since the Jeremy Kyle, it's one thing after another. My mum is still in my life now, still affecting my life. I don't talk to her, I don't speak to her, I want nothing to do with her. You know, but she still finds her way to get in my life.
Mm. Crazy.
And and like you said you watched some of the clips of the Jeremy
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
As much as your mum is a horrible woman, and I don't know, I can't really word how I want to word it. I can't say it. It's
She definitely played the victim.
she played the victim, and she played it really well, and it's literally she played the system.
Mm.
Played the system good and proper. Like I said, she was evading social services,
Yeah.
through my younger life, and then she portrays herself like that on Jeremy Kyle. And the way you've seen it, the Jeremy Kyle,
Mm.
right? I put that together myself as a video because it's all different clips.
Yeah.
Because she contacted ITV and requested that it was taken off TV. It was taken off everywhere so nobody could find it. She played on my brother's death with that, but my brother's death was in 2014. It was the year before that we were on the Jeremy Kyle, and my brother wasn't even on there.
Mm.
But she plays the victim all the time, like I'm the devil child.
Yeah. Yeah. She
As
sort
she
of said as such. Yeah. On the show.
Yeah,
Is your sister in contact with her anymore?
no,
No. So she's
no.
realized what she's like too.
Let's just say that my mother, sorry, and her partner caused some physical abuse on my sister.
Mm.
And my sister, she won't mind me saying this, my sister was married and her husband died.
Oh, gosh.
She went to her mother, as you do, for a little bit of support. She turned up, knocked the door. And my mum's partner came out and hit my sister just for being at the door.
What?
How can you love two children and despise two children?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's almost like she looked at you as an inconvenience to her life.
I was.
Mm.
And like I can see that, and I think I seen that years ago.
Yeah. So when did your real father come back into your life?
Last year,
Wow.
during the pandemic.
Isn't that crazy?
And again, that was by the power of Facebook.
Tell you what, Facebook's
Facebook
got a
is a
lot to
wonderful
add.
thing.
I know, it really is. I agree with that. It really is.
Yeah,
And how's that relationship?
amazing.
Oh, that's so good. That's amazing.
It's really good. I have another half brother and a half sister.
Brilliant.
It's like a whole bubble of new family.
Yeah, I can imagine. And a good one.
Yeah. Like they say, good things come to those who wait. And do you know what? As much as my life has been shattered, I'm starting to now rebuild it.
Yeah. That was actually what I was going to ask next is, has it offered you a, even a slither of healing by having it?
Like finding my dad, yes. But I'm not going to heal
No.
until, like, I have justice with
Mm.
my mum. The abuse that she put me through throughout life, nobody should have to suffer.
No, they shouldn't.
I went home to my mum when I was 15 after being taken at the age of 6. When I moved back home to my mum and my stepdad, the partner that she's got now,
Mm-hmm.
I was abused again. I was failed by the system again. The only people I had standing up for me at that time was my school teachers, who were scared for my safety at home, who'd actually put in referrals to social services, complaints to social services, stating I was not safe at home. Social services seen stab marks on me from when my stepdad had been stabbing me. Abuse is hard to deal with as the person that's dealing with it, who's gone through it. It's hard for people to listen about it,
Mm-hmm.
but abuse does go on a lot more than what
Oh, it
people think.
is rampant.
There is minimal support out there, and there
Mm-hmm.
needs to be more.
Why do you
you know
think? Why do you think that there's such a failure in those services? Is it laziness? Is it down to a lack of funds that they just don't have enough people to come out and check? Is it disbelief? Is it like what would you put it down to?
I think it's a good number of things, to be honest. I think money plays a big part in it, the funding.
Yeah.
you know and I find that they don't understand.
Mm.
You tell me why a social worker would come and visit my mum's house when I'm the age of 5, and she sees my mum physically assault me. She drags me up the garden path by my hair. My legs are dragged on the floor. By the time I get in the house, all my legs are all scuffed from the concrete. She dragged me up by my hair. You explain why a social worker would see that and then go home and leave it,
Mm.
and leave that child there.
It's crazy.
I have it. I have 11 social services files containing literally every good part that social services did do, but also every negative. And there are more negatives than there are positives from
Mm.
social services. I was a child of systematic failure. I was portrayed to be a problem child. Then I go into being a problem teenager, and now I'm a problem adult.
Do you think that that's an old view of abuse back in the day? I mean, even when I was young, it wasn't spoken about as much. And then I suppose they just didn't have a true understanding, because as you just mentioned, you're perceived as this devil child, but what child isn't going to outburst and react when they're getting abused behind the door?
I was a child crying out for help,
That's exactly it.
not a problem child.
Yeah, exactly. Because as you know, I mean, majority of children that are abused react in some way. You're going to if you've got a pair of eyes and a half a brain, you're going to be able to see that there's an issue.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just, it drives me insane. I mean, I was speaking to somebody just recently. We were talking about pedophilia and stuff like that, and someone said to me, "Oh, do you really think it's that prevalent?" And I said, "Of course it is. I mean, I was a very pretty looking, skinny young boy. I used to get mistaken for one of my sisters all the time." And I used to have men of all ages trying to get me into cars, trying to get me to go to public toilets, all like playing with themselves on the beach, all that sort of stuff. And it is so rampant. And do you know what? Another thing where people really go wrong, majority of those men were there at that beach with their wife and children while they were trying to pick me up. Not all these people, are what people perceive a pedophile to be. Like
No.
it's absolutely abhorrent. It makes me so angry.
So they right. I went to the police, obviously, when my stepdad went to prison. Right.
Hmm.
That case was closed. Obviously, my mental health wasn't too good, as you can imagine.
Mm,
I'd literally faced the worst fear of my life because I didn't go behind a screen. I didn't. I didn't hide away. I went and I faced him. I stood in the courtroom. I had to do it.
yeah,
We've all got to face our fears at some point, and I needed to do it.
yeah.
Um, they prosecuted him for what he did. My mum is still free to walk the streets.
Isn't that bizarre?
Nothing's being done. And social services, from the age of 15, I was requested to see my social services files, and I was refused every single time due to my mental health, and I wouldn't be able to intake the information from within the files. There was no assessment done on my mental health by anybody to say that I could not have my files. They gave me my files when I was 28. I'm now 31. They did that because when somebody turns 18 and they have been abused, no matter what age, up until the age of 18, after that, you have 5 years to pursue anything.
Right.
Now, social services took that right away from me. I
Mm,
cannot pursue anything to do with my mum. So my mum gets away with sexually abusing me herself, then passing me out to her partners, to then basically making my whole life a lie.
and
Now I go back.
social services also get away with doing such a bad job on what they really should be doing. That's an admission of guilt in itself,
mm,
of them not giving you the files,
social
isn't it?
service, social services are on the thinking that nothing can be done,
Mm,
but I'm not going to give too much away. But I am on another path where something can be done because, in a way, there is such things as human rights,
mm.
and mine were breached.
No,
So that is another way I am now looking at,
getting some
because
justice.
because saying that my human rights were breached, they were, because they kept all that information away from me,
Mm,
um, which they shouldn't have done.
no.
They said I was 28 years old when I received those.
Crazy. Mary, what did you learn from this whole experience?
One, how not to parent my children.
I bet.
Two, the only person you can trust and rely on is yourself.
Mm.
Three, no matter what you go through, what age, it doesn't define the person that you are today. You can't let it define the person that you are today.
Mm.
You know, all I want to do now is help and support other people, whether that's children that are going through abuse now, whether that's people that have gone through abuse like in their childhood and they're now an adult, whatever. I just want to be there and be a listening ear and give advice and, you know, let them know that I understand,
Yeah.
because that's one thing that I lacked. Nobody understood me.
Mm. It's so important to be heard, especially in those situations. Mary, thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it, and I do hope that through this new avenue that you do find the justice that you deserve, so rightly deserve. And I hope that your life continues to blossom. And I just really hands down to you to be strong enough to actually come on and talk about this subject and to continue to want to support and help other people that are maybe going through it themselves. It's really admirable.
If I don't stand up and try and support people, who else is?
Exactly. So, Mary, is there anywhere that people can contact you for advice, support, anything else that you'd like to offer them?
Yes, you can find me on Facebook. My name on Facebook is Mary Burgess, but in brackets it says Mary Doyle. My profile is open, so you can send me friend requests. You can inbox me. Night, day, I don't mind.
And just look for the very attractive blonde lady.
Thank you. You will. It's pretty easy to find me because on my profile, I'm a unique presenter.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I know Unique
Okay.
very well.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mary. I really appreciate it, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye.
Ants Talk. It's like Oprah, but not.